am excited to introduce Sumera Riaz, our VP of Cybersecurity, and Trevor Burnside, Solution Architect for Cybersecurity today, because they're about to show you how two massive regulatory shifts have created your next 18 months of compliance revenue. Sumera and Trevor, thank you so much for being here again. I will hand it off to you.
Hey guys, good to be here with y'all today. Thanks, Cass. So I'm super excited to bring this next 30 minutes to you because we're going to dive into the world of governance, risk, and compliance. It might sound boring, but hang in there with me because it's so not boring. GRC is actually the backbone of every single company out there. Every client you have, governance, risk, compliance is how the company operates, and security is kind of woven in right into it all. So this is, I know a lot of times I describe security as a diamond. It has so many facets to it, but it's this one thing. And GRC is the heart of that one thing. It's how security controls and different solutions and basically the whole security, the diamond comes about. The foundation is GRC. So we're gonna give you a little teaser, an overview into what is GRC. And then we're going to really dive into HIPAA and then CMMC after that, because there are great opportunities this year that you can win on these two compliances alone. So moving right along, and if you guys have sold into HIPAA or CMMC, throw that in the chat. Let us know, like if you're talking to your clients today about HIPAA, about CMMC opportunities today. So part one, let's go through GRC and then HIPAA, and then we'll end with CMMC, and then we'll just pull it all together and give you a cool playbook. All right, so GRC, basically what GRC is in one sentence, GRC is how an organization decide what looks good. So last week I took PTO last week to move. I moved from one house to another, and anybody on the call today who has moved can feel my pain. So in the new house now, I've already shifted. Everything in the new house is in boxes. I can't find cords, wires, remote controls. I mean, it's a mess. But if I had good governance in place, I would have a spot where everything went, right? That's basically what governance is. It's creating organization out of chaos. So in a company, governance would look like, hey, this is our policies. They go here. These are the controls. They go here. This is our CRM, our ERM tooling. They go here. So it's basically an organized space, if you will. Everything has a spot. It's because you want to be able to quickly check those controls and make sure you are compliant. So governance and compliance kind of go hand in hand. Governance is, this is what looks good. And then compliance is, are you following what actually looks good? So a lot of times when I build out my security plans, my security strategies when I was CISO, I would reverse engineer in. So I would say, okay, what compliances does my company today has to follow? It's HIPAA, GDPR, CMMC, whatever that is. Those are my foundation, right? Compliance first, and then the controls that are in each of the compliance, that builds my governance plan. And that then highlights what risks I have today. So it's beautiful when it all pulls together. And maybe in the next session we have together, I'll show you kind of my actual security plan, what it looked like when I built it out, using these three as the foundation. So GRC, it drives security sales. Because clients, as you know, rarely buy security because it's the right thing to do. They buy it because there's a deadline. They buy it because there's been a ransom event. There's been a breach. So GRC is a big driver for security sales. There's revenue at stake. There's trust is a big differentiator, right? AT&T recently was hacked. I mean, they've been hacked almost every year. And I say that jokingly, but over 44, what was it, Trevor? Like over 40 million accounts were exposed to the dark web, data, just trust as far as privacy of folks goes is a big thing. And GRC helps protect that. So trust as a differentiator, a compliance story, it wins deals with competitors. Penalty avoidance. When I lived in Europe, they are a big pharma company. They make aspirin and all these things. There's penalties associated, right, with GDPR and all that. And I remember one year we had to pay a fine for GDPR, upwards of 25 million euros because we missed one little thing. So penalty avoidance is huge, and compliance is, is kind of the key for that. Deadlines, government deadlines, they create urgency. As you can see right now, for those of you who are selling into CMMC, there's a major deadline coming up, and a lot of companies are behind. So, yes, that is a revenue generator, but on the other side, it's so important for these companies to become compliant, and they need your help to get there, just to keep their lights on. So it's a huge opportunity there. So this is a risk mapping exercise, right? Don't get overwhelmed by all the words on here. What I'm going to help you do is just kind of empty all these out, like create just blank, send you like a blank slide like this, and you can do this exercise with your clients. So what basically it's a risk map exercise, and what you would do is like, what are the top 5 investments that your clients have today, right? You would walk this through with your client, or Trevor and I and our SE team can jump on the call and do this with you and your clients, where we put in their top 5 investments when it comes to security and what are their top 5 business risks, and see if their investments align with the risks they have today. So, for example, on this slide, couple of things the clients miss, right? So firewall and perimeter, but third-party vendor compromise, they have nothing for third-party vendor compromise. So that's a huge opportunity. They need a TPRM solution in place. And we have providers that you can bring in and say, we can fill this gap for you right here. Security Ops Center. Those are controls that are in almost every compliance. There has to be a 24/7 eyes on glass, a SOC, Security Ops Center. And that right there is a regulatory breach, like right off the bat. So these are quick wins that if you do this exercise with your clients, you can find these quick wins, and then that becomes a revenue conversation. And again, you don't have to do this alone. We're happy to help you, and we're happy to do it with you.
Yeah, I like this. It's a good visual representation and simplification of what the process of risk management is, right? Of
Mhm.
what's the biggest risk to our business, and how are we going to mitigate those risks or address those risks in some way, right?
Mhm.
This is again kind of an oversimplification, but a really good way to visually show clients that hey, you may not be completely addressing the biggest risk to your business, like
Mhm.
email security. Obviously, phishing attacks are remain number one. If they don't have email
Mhm.
security, you know, th
It's
you're
over.
looking at some of the biggest risk and not addressing that. There's not
Yeah.
a good reason not to. So even if you're
Mhm.
working in industries that are not regulated or customers that, don't have real high regulation or compliance, they still have to address their risk.
Yeah, especially right now with AI powered phishing attacks, or not just phishing, but AI powered attacks. I mean, Meta AI got hacked this last few days, right? The attacks that are coming in with AI, 1,265% more than last year. That is a huge number. Like that's how in just not even 5 months, the attack vectors that were the attack percentages, like last year we had 42% higher attacks than we did the year before, but this year just in 5 months the stats now show 1,265% hike. We had at one point we had 11 companies in breach at the same time. Through one of the partners had called me and said, I've got 11 companies in a breach right now because of AI. So AI isn't bad. It's the bad people operating AI is bad, right? So, but these investments are supposed to protect a company against these risks. And if they don't have the right investments, they're not going to be protected. So, and that's where you guys come in to help align the right investments to the right risks so they can have proper protection in place for their companies. 2 regulations that we're going to talk about in a second. HIPAA, CMMC, they're forcing clients off the fence to buy because of these deadlines. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. HIPAA, start with HIPAA. It's rebuilt for 2026. The first security rule, the first major overhaul of HIPAA was 2013, almost 10 years ago. And there were optional controls in there for the HIPAA to be compliant with HIPAA that are now mandatory or about to become mandatory. So, Trevor, I'm going to give you the mic. Who does
Yeah.
HIPAA apply to? What is HIPAA and who does it apply to?
So when you look at HIPAA as well as CMMC, you have to look at the data that it's protecting. And HIPAA is around PHI or personal health information, and or EPHI or electronic personal health information. That's what it's built around. That's what it's designed to protect. It's designed to protect people as well as the data that they have, right? In this case, medical data, personal health information. Um, the I've been talking a lot about this. A lot of people have been asking, well, yeah, I've been seeing all these changes, or everyone talks about there's going to be changes. A lot of it is, hey, what was essentially recommended is now going to be required. So to your point earlier, there's a lot of, hey, in certain situations you don't have to do this, you don't have to encrypt this traffic, but now you may have to.
Mhm.
So HIPAA applies really to any business or organization that is touching PHI or EPHI. So if you're a clinic, if you're even an MSP that is now hosting data for EPHI data, they also are now going to be part of that perimeter, we would call it, right? That data perimeter. So there's a
Exactly.
lot of already we have vendors that are going to they say that, oh, our services are HIPAA compliant, right? Because
Hmm.
that means you can use PHI data with their system safely, and they can be part of that PHI perimeter. Um,
Yep.
but
So what
that's
is
essentially what that means.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And um, the Department of Health and Safety, Office of Civil Rights, they regulate HIPAA. So it is a federal mandate for any healthcare data to be, for those agencies to be HIPAA compliant. So what is the big shift, Trevor? What is changing this year from what is addressable now becomes required? What does that mean?
Yeah, a lot of the addressable stuff is like, hey, discretionary. Maybe you can think of it that way of depending on the situation, maybe you don't have to have MFA enabled or multi-factor authentication. Depending on the situation, this network doesn't touch the internet, so we don't have to encrypt it, even though it has PHI data on it. There's some gray areas that are no longer going to be gray areas is a
Yeah.
way to think of it. And some
And
of
this
these on the
comes
slide
up.
are showing what those
Uh-huh.
are.
Yep, and these come up in audit. That's how addressable and required is flagged. So when HIPAA announces finally that this is going to be the new law, this is what everybody has to follow now with healthcare. What happens is when it comes time to audit, it's usually around August, they have a big checklist and they go through and it says, do you have MFA? Yes or no, or other, right? That other where you can type in your justification. When I was a CISO, we were compliant with PCI, GDPR, and when I filled out those audit forms, it would say 24/7, monitoring center. And if I don't have a 24/7, I have to write in there why I don't need it, like why it's a justifiable no. That's what addressable means. Oh, but required is there's no justification. You have to have it to be compliant. There's just a yes or a no box. There's no type in your justification for why you don't have it. You have to have it. If you don't have it, you're out of compliance. You got to shut your doors. That is the cost of not being compliant. The business shuts down. They cannot continue to operate as a business if they are not HIPAA compliant completely. So those are the stakes, right? Them are the stakes, people. So, so walk us through these six things that are going to be required that are today just kind of addressable.
Yeah, some of these are the basics, right? Multi-factor authentication, it's been around a long time and something that is basically recommended by every framework that you can imagine to have it enabled on all the things, right? Turn on MFA for all the things. Now it's going to be required specifically on remote accessing systems that have ePHI, like an EMR system or an those systems that hold those data. It's almost like if you think of it like a customer uh,
Hmm.
database, but it actually has patient data, right? That's an
Hmm.
EHR. Um, Access to those will require MFA, encryption of data both in rest and in transit. So if you've got a database that's holding, customer or patient data, that has to now be encrypted
Hmm.
in rest as well as in transit. So if it's going out, it's got to be encrypted on its way out.
Yeah, you know
Uh,
who's at risk for the encryption, especially for any of these six actually, are the mid-sized doctor offices. Like large healthcare companies like insurance and hospitals and stuff, Baylor's of the world, they will probably be, first to market and get this done because they have a lot at stake. But the offices, I worry about that, like my doctor's office, my dentist's office, are, the dermatologist. Those are going to be the guys that if you have those in your book of business, you need to get on the call with them and say, hey, this is about to become required. What is your plan here? What are you going to be doing? And if you don't know, let me help you, right?
hmm
And
Yeah, to
network,
great point.
yeah, yep.
As I say, network segmentation falls right into that, right? How many of
Hmm.
those small clinics are flat networks that if you
Oh
got
my
in,
God,
you would be able to
yes.
see everything, right? And
Yes.
it's just not good practice. These are, again, fundamentals, basics.
Mhm.
But even if you're a small clinic, maybe it's time to take a look and see if, do you need to bring in an MSS or an MSP or an MSSP to help with professional services or managed services to just make sure that they're going to be compliant.
Yeah.
Asset inventory and mapping, even for small organizations, you got to know what's on the network, right? You got to be able to track, monitor, and be able to do patching, make sure that everything's up to date. Uh, even for small clinics, it's important. And there's even, you're like, hey, there's only 10 people in this office. I guarantee there is an asset on the network that they don't know about. It
Yep,
just happens all the time. And
it does.
even for even people that are doing asset inventory and
Mhm.
management, there will be stuff on the network that they don't know about.
For sure. Vulnerability
Um,
scans, pen testing, that's just mandatory
yep,
at this point. Yeah.
yep, exactly. I mean, HIPAA's has recommended an annual pen test for healthcare providers, clinics, and
Mhm.
stuff. Now, of course, that's just enforcing that a little bit more. And then also audit logging and vendor checks. So you can think about like a, SIM or security information event management systems. Those things are going to now, instead of just, hey, you really should have a SOC and a SIM, now it's going to be, well, how are you auditing those logs if you're not using a SIM? Maybe you should. Maybe it's time
Mhm.
if you're not to using one, even if you're a small office, how
Mhm.
are you going to start doing auditing of those logs or be able to go back and audit logs? So
Mhm.
it,
Yes,
it brings a lot
exactly.
into question, right?
Yeah, it's manpower that they don't have today. It's people that they either need to hire or outsource, and we want them to be able to outsource because we know if they hire a staff, it's a lean IT staff. There's not a way. It's just the regulations that are coming now. It's very hard. It's going to be very hard for companies to manage it internally. They are going to need to outsource. And that is good news for us in this world because that equates to MRR. Yay. So there is good news in all of this. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I
the
think, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so let's talk about the rule and the 240-day clock. What does that number mean? So
Hmm
in January 2025, there was a proposed rule that was published, right? Basically, what that means is the new changes that are coming with HIPAA, they were made known in January 2025. HHS announced it, OCR backed them, that we're going to be making these conditional things. Now they're going to be required. March 2025, that comment period, the objections and all that closed. And then final rule is expected any day now. So in June, July, we're going to hear from HHS, and they're going to more than likely, there's 99% that rule is going to be confirmed. And all the things that were optional at one point, now they're going to be required. And the hard thing is healthcare agencies, any company that is under HIPAA right now only has 240 days for compliance. That is 180 days for themselves to comply and then 60 for the vendor agreements. That is not enough time because just you saw just six things on the last slide that those were just six of them. There's 119 controls in HIPAA. So there's a lot that these companies are gonna need help with, especially assessments, gap assessments, risk assessments, HIPAA compliance assessments, and then fill those gaps within those 240 days. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to have these conversations starting now because that timeline is very small.
Yeah.
And then what does it cost? Cost of inaction. If we don't do anything and if we just I love what you say, security through obscurity, Trevor. It's like if we just
Mhm.
ignore it all, not do anything, this is what it costs. That's a lot.
And a lot of these, previously I'd say like smaller clinics and stuff that I've worked with have, not exactly been, 100% compliant, and they think we're just too small. Who's
Hmm.
even gonna, you know,
Yeah.
come after us, right? The OCR is not going to come after. We're only 5 people in our office. We're only 10 people. We're only 20. Some people say we're only 250 people. We're pretty small, right? Uh,
Hmm.
Part of this is actually more not just a change of controls or enforcement of controls, but it's also enforcement of the practice itself. And that OCR is saying we are going to start doing more penalties, and the penalties are going to be greater for non-compliance than they have been in the past.
Yeah, exactly. 57 million just last year, 57 million people, including that includes people on this call today. That includes me, that includes you. We had our health data exposed through if you have Change Healthcare, that was part of United Healthcare. If you've ever had United or ever gone to a hospital that was United, your data was exposed in the last few years with the Change Healthcare breach that happened. And it's 57 million people, right? Average cost of healthcare data breach is 7.42 million. That's the average. And that doesn't include the ransomware payment. That doesn't include the stock price dropping. That is just the average cost of a breach. It's highest in any other industry, finance industry, manufacturing, healthcare. Breach costs are the highest, right? Because the data at stake. For the attackers, for bad guys, the healthcare data is a money making because that data is critical to any nation state attackers. That data is gold basically. So that's why the breaches are very expensive. 2.19 million top tier HIPAA penalty. That's kind of that's what you're looking at, right? If a company is not compliant with HIPAA, the rules come out, 2 million right off the bat. And that's a lot. So those are just some things to keep in mind as you go through and talk to your clients. So top three questions you can ask your clients now, discovery questions for HIPAA. Stated right here. Trevor, do you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, and I was going to say, Zachary Schechter said earlier, like some of my clients that I have don't think they're affected by this, right? Well, the
Mhm.
answer is what data do you have? What do you have even access to? Do you have access to PHI or EPHI? So that first question, do you create, store, transmit health data for any client, or even just host it? Is it hosting on your servers somewhere? Are you, a cloud provider, a private cloud provider? If the answer is yes, then some of these controls are going to apply to you. Second one, are encryption and multi-factor authentication fully in place or still on the list? Um, I would say on the encryption side, I would bet that there's still a lot that on data at rest or that they don't have the full visibility. So there is in that GRC kind of initiative, there is a process or a product called DSPM, or Data Security Posture Management, where you can get visibility to the data that is traversing on the network. And to really simplify it, you can say, all right, this is PHI data. Where is it going on my network? And does it touch anywhere that's not encrypted? And if that's the case, then we have to encrypt those, or we have to block it so the data can't go there, or we have to encrypt where it's going. Um, so there's going to be a lot there on the encryption side with clients of just data visibility and then being able to address that, because it's going to kind of come up in an audit if they don't.
Yep, exactly. Um,
And then go ahead if you want to do three.
yeah, no, these are really good. And then if a client asks you to prove your safeguards in writing tomorrow, could you do it? If That is a great question because the documentation now is going to be, the new bar basically. You
Yeah,
can't.
like you said, out of all those controls, a lot of this is
Mhm.
policy controls. It has to be in writing, it has to be in process. So while we can do a lot when it comes to email security, encryption, multi-factor authentication, there's also a lot more that needs to be done on making sure they have a written policy in place and the technical writing is correct and that it can pass an audit. And that's
Yeah.
still where a lot of our vendors can help from VCSO or professional services or a GRC as a service.
Yep, exactly. And for you guys asking the sources, the general publications, I will post it in chat in just a second, so you can have those links available. And Arvin, yes, we have a list of providers that are perfect for healthcare for this, and we'll that's on the going to be Telarus University, the cybersecurity landing page. And Chandler Cass, if you can put a link to the landing page in here, you're going to find that data, find that information on that page for all the healthcare. You can also access it to our hub as well. If you just sort it by the compliance matrix, and it'll pull up the list of providers that can support. All right, next slide. So let's go into CMMC now, right? We've kind of beaten down HIPAA. Providers provided in the hub, also on the cybersecurity landing page in the Telarus University. Now let's look at CMMC, and that's kind of exciting, and it because of the opportunity, and it's for defense contractors. Basically, any company that's handling data that's critical to national security, that they have to be CMMC compliant. The companies already are going to know who if they need to be or not. So that's not something we have to worry about. The companies, the clients know who has to be and if they don't have to be, basically. So Trevor, walk us through just basics of high level, what is CMMC, and then who does it apply to?
Yeah, so it's mostly for Department of Defense or Department of War contractors or government agencies that are working with what, again, we got to follow the data, and the data that they've identified in CMMC or Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification that's protecting is what they call controlled unclassified information, or CUI, or some people call it CUI. I'm not one of them, but some people do. CUI, that is information that it's unclassified, but if it has some type of sensitivity to it, that if you had a bunch of CUI or a bunch of, information put together, that could actually be actionable intelligence that could be used against the nation. So, uh, what CMMC is, if you want to think of it from like a framework perspective, it's built on, NIST 800-171, which is 110 security controls. It's quite a bit. But with some provisions again for specifically around CUI and handling CUI, storage of CUI, very similar to PHI, right? We got to look at where the data is. Is it encrypted? How is it being transmitted? How does it move in the network? A lot of similar kind of features when it comes to, or at least the comparison. But it's completely different in nature and what that data actually is. And it's different in the sense of the market that who actually needs it now. So you would think, it's easy to understand, okay, a clinic, a healthcare provider, they have to have HIPAA compliance. CMMC compliance is a little different because that could be a lot of organizations. That's different industries even. It's not just one industry. Manufacturing actually is a big one for CMMC where, hey, we're an HVAC vendor, but we also do HVAC for, government installation sites. Or, hey, we make O-rings, like rubber O-rings. And by the way, one of the O-rings we make goes on the F-16 jet, right? It could be a lot of things. It means a lot of industries. If you have clients that are doing business with the federal government or the DOD, DOW,
Yeah.
they are considering this. So you got to talk about it. And I would bring it up how much of your business is with the government.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to keep that business, you got to start looking at what this
Mm-hmm.
means to you guys.
Exactly. So now the three levels of CMMC. The first level is foundational, basic safeguards, annual self-assessment, but it's moving to level two now, right? So advanced is where we are today. It's third party assessed. It's not a self-assessment. The self-assessment is actually ending as of this year. So everybody who is CMMC today is going to need to be third party assessed and certified. And then level three is usually for like CMMC. There's a 4 and 5 level that you go to, and that is usually done by government. The government provides the software, the government provides the alcove where the environment needs to rest in. Those are completely kind of a separate deal. So right now, where we are at is this level 2 advanced. Those are majority of your ICPs, ideal client profiles, are going to fall right here in level 2.
Mhm.
And then what is the deadline? What is the phase rollout? What is the hype? What are we all talking about? is this right here, the phase two, November 10th date, 2026. That's when the companies have to be compliant by. That's how long they have. And interestingly enough, this next slide, this speaks to why the urgency, right? This is the why right here. There are over 76,000 companies that need the third party level 2 third party certifications. As of early 2026, only 1,100 of them have completed it and are now compliant. There are a total of 83 assessors companies that firms 83 assessor firms that exist in the United States today to do this work. And it takes 6 to 12 months to prep for the assessment. So if you look at these numbers, the math, it sells itself, right? Um, the the amount that we need to get certified and the time and people to certify them, it's it's just not enough. These companies, what is going to happen if these folks, the delta of these folks don't get compliant, they're going to lose their projects. They're going to lose the bids that they have right now with the government. They will not have those contracts anymore. That means loss of revenue for the company. That means some of them may even have to shut their doors if they don't get compliant. That's how serious this is. So talking to your clients now, you're going to be doing them a favor, right? So, three
And
questions to
to,
ask. Go ahead, Trevor.
I was going to say to Chris Phillips' question, so he said, how many are ecosystem? I'm assuming he's talking about those assessors. So we actually have a few. We have a lot of vendors that can help with these controls. We only have a couple actually that can do the actual audit or attestation or actual certification. Um, but so wherever your customer is in that CMMC journey, we can help them, whether it's, I don't know what I'm doing, all the way to I'm ready to go, I need an audit.
Yep, exactly. So, three questions you can lead with right now. Do you hold, wait on bid, or DoD contracts that involve sensitive information? Most of them are going to know this anyways. Are you still relying on self-assessment, or have you booked a third-party assessors? Which, by the way, we have third-party assessors within our provider network. So if you have a CMMC client that needs to be compliant, that's certified, please get in touch with us. We can register the deal, get you in touch with the providers who are this third party C3PAO. And then another question to ask is, do you know your phase two date and how long will the certification take you? You already know the answer to this going in and asking them, but it's just to make, bring that, give them time to like, yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, I got to get this done. Can you help me do it? So, and you have all the providers, you have everything you need in a Telarus portfolio to help your clients get to that finish line. Just contact us. We'll register a deal. We'll get you in touch with the assessors and the auditors. And yes, you can monetize on it. So, bringing it all together, one playbook, two deadlines. HIPAA and CMMC, they might look different on paper, but it's the same talk track for both. And all you got to do is name the pressure, the dates, all the stats we've given you, qualify the scope, and sell the head start. The selling point is going to be this is happening in a few months. You can, be either ready for it and keep your doors open, or it might result in fines or closed doors for businesses. And you guys, those of you who know me, I don't like selling out of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I like selling in reality, and this is not FUD. I just want to make it clear. This is reality. This is happening as we speak. So it's a great time to talk to your clients and get them ready for what's coming ahead in a few months. So to make it very simple, what do you got to do? You got to screen your book, flag every account that touches healthcare data or defense work. Those are the calls you got to make. Lead with a deadline. Deadlines, they move people to act, right? I didn't like pack my things or move and all that until I knew the date I had to be out by. So deadlines, they move people to act. CMMC has a hard date. HIPAA has a short clock once it lands. So it's going to move very fast this year. Frame cost, not features. Again, you want to talk business risk. You want to talk what it's going to cost them if they don't comply, and stay out of the technical conversations. Yeah. And then selling readiness now. The bottleneck is real. right now, I don't know what the backlog is for the assessors that exist today, but getting your clients in line, getting in there early is going to pay off.